Hey, my name's Jonathan, and I'm a veteran.
Hi, my name is Daryl, and I'm a veteran.
My name is Chad, and I'm a veteran.
Hey, I'm Travis. I'm an Air Force veteran.
Hi, my name's Ashley, and I'm a veteran.
Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome this Sunday evening to Conversations with a Vet. My name is Carol Lee, and I am going to be your hostess for the evening. I do have a guest coming on. He's going to be a little bit late. So in the meantime, first and foremost, thank you to everybody who's popping on. Much appreciated. I wanted to talk about our friends from Mind Overland. So for those of you who don't know who they are a 501c3, and their mission is to positively impact veteran lives through outdoor exploration, and it is founded by Vets for Vets. I had said at one point they were going to have their, I think it was a third annual Mind Overland gathering in North Carolina. But due to the 2024 Hurricane Helene, they were unable to do so. So they're looking for other places that they can put something together. So they have posted out there on their Facebook page. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about them, you can find them on Facebook, and that's Mind Overland. You can also find them mindoverland.org. Again, they're a 501c3. And they just posted out there this month that said, first and foremost, we want to express our heartfelt gratitude for your patience and support as we navigated the challenges of Hurricane Helene. The storm forced us to cancel our annual Veterans Day event in North Carolina mountains, but we've been hard at work finding an alternative. While a little later than planned, we're thrilled to announce that Mind Overland is teaming up with our friends at Static Line Brewing Company, a veteran-owned business, to host a special event on Armed Services Day, Saturday, May 17th, 2025, from 1 until whenever, and that's going to be in Sanford, North Carolina. So what do they have in store? Well, they've got an overlanding themed car show, and that's they want you to bring out your rigs, show off your builds. They're going to have prizes that they're going to award for various categories, and they'll have more details on that, on what those categories are later. To participate, they ask for a $10 donation per car, and it is going to be tax deductible, of course. Every dollar goes toward supporting their mission of helping veterans reconnect through outdoor adventures. They're also going to have a raffle, and that is by Asheville Vehicle Outfitters. Their friends, you can look them up at Asheville Vehicle Outfitters, and they will be joining as well and raffling off a top-of-the-line fridge, perfect for your next overlanding trip. Jason, welcome. They're also going to have a food truck that'll be on site serving up some delicious eats. So make sure you come hungry and enjoy some great food while celebrating with them. They're going to have great beer for a great cause. So Static Line Brewing, they have apparently an incredible selection of craft beer while supporting a cause that gives back to those who served. And so this isn't going to be their usual full weekend event. They're excited to celebrate Armed Services Day with all of us, and they still plan to bring back their Veterans Day event in 2025. So I'm super excited about that. If you haven't gone and you're a veteran, you need to check that out. Their Veterans Day events are open to the public, those who support veterans, who are veteran forward veterans as well, and their families. They say, of course, that our support makes it all possible, and they're already looking forward to what's to come. So again, Static Line Brewing, it's going to be again in May, and that is going to be May 17th, 2025 And the address is 1671 Buffalo Lake Road in Sanford, North Carolina. Again, that's going to start at 1 p.m. on May 17th. That is going to be their biggest fundraiser for the year. They couldn't do it without everybody's support. So make sure you all mark your calendars, you spread the word, and we want to make this as unforgettable as possible for them. So, and I will keep you updated on that. Jason, it's quite all right. Everybody today seems to be a little bit late, so we're quite all right with that. The next thing I wanted to kind of touch base with is where we are at with our channel. So we have so many videos that we have already done. It's 406 videos to date. So I'm really excited about that. We have, as far as our geography, we are reaching every single state in the union. We are also in, our top countries outside of the US are Canada, the UK, Australia, Germany, New Zealand, South Africa, Sweden, the Netherlands, the Philippines, Ireland, Belgium, Indonesia, India, Italy, South Korea, Mexico, and Poland. So a big shout out to each of you. Let's go take a look over here. I want to check out the top 10 states in the US that are participating. And California's, got to say, by far our number one. And then we've got Texas, Florida, New York, Louisiana, Washington, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Colorado, and Ohio. Those are our top 10 states that are out there. So for California, let's see, who do we have? Let's see. Okay, so for the US and for California, see if it's going to give me what I want. It is not. Let's see. But in Louisiana, we have Bossier City in Louisiana. So shout out to you guys. London in the UK as our other city that is really taking a good look at us. Seattle, Washington, Lafayette, Louisiana, Chicago, Illinois, Sydney, Australia, shout out, as well as Phoenix, Arizona. So much appreciated to each and every one of you guys. It means the world. We have, if I look over at the lifetime on this in the US, it is California, Texas, Florida, New York, North Carolina, Washington, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. So that's my lifetime. So really excited for that. And then let's see, for cities, we've got New York. They're our top contender for the lifetime. What would you like, Jason, for me to put in the chat? We've got, so New York is our largest viewer. Chicago, Dallas, Seattle, LA, Atlanta, Phoenix, Houston, and Denver. Those are our top ones. So shout out to each one of you guys out there that are watching and pick up even in the replay crew. So let's see. Jason, what did you want me to put in the channel chat? Oh, the address for Mind Over Land? Sure. Let me find that here for you. Okay, I'm going to put that in here. May 17th, 2025 at 1671 Buffalo Lake Road, Sanford, North Carolina, 27332. Okay. So that should be popping up there for anybody interested. Mind Over Land, May 17th, 2025. And then the address is listed for anybody interested there. My guest is hopping on right now, so we should have him here momentarily. Again, though, I do want to say thank you. We are at 442 of our subs. So when we do hit that 500 mark, again, we will be doing some giveaways. So make sure, please, that everybody, if you haven't already shared it, go ahead and do so. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. Let them know when we hit that 500 mark. I'll be marking that out there for everybody, but and let you know, because you must be present to win when we get those giveaways going. So, but make sure, please. And if you're interested in not missing out on any of my veteran guests in our conversations, make sure that not only do you hit that notify button, but that you've got to go back and hit it again to make sure that you get all of the notifications. So, all right. So without further ado, let's see. First off, I hopefully I'll get his name correct, but we have Misael Gutierrez. I don't know if that's right, but we're gonna find out. Okay, hold tight, everybody. Let's give him a great welcome, please.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Sorry I'm a little late. I was rushing home to join this podcast, and I appreciate you even considering me for this.
Oh no, it's my pleasure and honor. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So okay, how do you pronounce your name?
So in English, it's Misael Gutierrez. You had it right. I mean, you did it pretty dang spot on. It is in Spanish it's Misael, but I've stopped attempting to correct people on that one, so it just we're flowing with what you said.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So Jason says thank you for your service, sir. Right? Yeah. So that is my husband, and awesome. We have 2 Marine veterans ourselves. So awesome. That is what prompted me to start the channel, because I knew they were going to be needing resources, and what better way to find resources than from other Marine veterans and other veterans as a whole. So yeah, that's a big point. I'm glad you mentioned that. You know, when you sign the dotted line, they don't really explain to you what things you need to look out for before you leave service. That's a pretty big deal, and I've had to learn things through searching on my own, through Reddit, through other veterans that I've just come across, and they're like, hey, did you know you could do this? I'm like, no. How do you even find that? That's crazy. I didn't even know that was the thing. I can go to the VA and get X-rays. Like, I had no idea. So yeah, I would say if I'm sorry, you can. No, you're fine. You're fine. We'll get to the meat of everything. You keep going.
Okay. So yeah, I would say if you're a vet, or I'm sorry, if you're in service right now, the one advice I could give you is make sure that you're keeping up with your medical records. Make sure everything's documented. Make sure if you fall and you hit your head on something, make sure that's on paper somewhere. I know it sounds silly, but at least for me, the Marine Corps was not great at keeping track of medical records and documentation. And we sort of have this tough man mentality where it's like, oh, you fell and hit your head on the pavement, well, suck it up. It's part of the job. And it is part of the job. It's a dangerous job. There's a lot of moving parts to a unit, and anything can happen. Unfortunately, Marines have died in training and just being away from combat at home. So, things happen that you just don't expect. And if I were to say anything, is just make sure that everything that happens to you, whether it was accidental or not, make sure it's documented.
I think those are absolute great words, because if you haven't been through it, right, and you don't really understand how difficult it can be to prove after the fact things that have occurred for you, right? It's not easy.
Correct. It's even, and I can only speak for the Marine Corps, but I think we have to do a better job at looking out for each other too, especially the higher up you go in leadership. When you're a lance corporal and below, you have this suck it up mentality that you've carried through from boot camp, and you get to a certain point where you're like, all right, I'm 20 years old. I've been in for a couple of years. My leadership is, starting to put a little bit more trust in me. And so when that transition happens, where you're taking on leadership roles, you need to be looking out for the guys below you too, because those guys are just as big-eyed and scared about saying something or speaking up. And I think if anything, we have to carry that responsibility of, hey, are you okay? Are you good? Are you all there? Because I can say one thing. I'm a GWAT kid. If you don't know what GWAT kid is, Global War on Terrorism. I joined in 06, or signed a dotted line in 06. Went to boot camp in 07. It was wartime. Everybody was focused on the war. Nobody was focused on our mental well-being. It was more like, hey,
Right.
get boots on ground, go over there, do your job, and hopefully you come home in one piece. That was the mentality. Now we're in this peacetime core where it's like, well, we're training for the what else is coming. We're not exactly hitting the ground running because there's nothing to hit, fortunately. But things can still happen. There's a lot of guys that are still suffering internally and they're not saying anything. So
Right. And that happens a lot.
Mhm.
But the biggest thing is, and this is what I have found, is as a service member, you as an individual have to take responsibility for your own records. You
Correct.
have to make sure that they are up to date, and you
Correct.
check them multiple times while you're enlisted, and say, because there are so many instances where things have literally been left off,
Correct.
and important things that will benefit you when you get out, because you don't know what is in store for you as
Correct.
we age, right? And certain things can certainly affect your benefits too.
Yeah, correct. I can give you an example. So I am rated for back and knees, both of them, and I got out in 2013 officially, and I noticed after getting out that, man, and I got out. I went to school. School didn't work out, so I went straight into working as a technician for AT&T, climbing telephone poles, installing fiber optics, and it was a great job. I was making good money. I was making more than I was making in the Marine Corps, which is not a bragging, right, to say the least.
Right.
It's not a very low bar.
That's
It's a
just
really
to be
low bar.
expected, right? Yeah.
It was the most I've ever made, but it's also the most demanding job that I've had. And I'm a 23-year-old veteran, and I can't keep up with guys that are 40 years old. And I started noticing that, man, I'm having to call out and use my sick days because my back is spasming out, my knees can't take it, and I was really worried. I had a young kid on the way. I just got married, and I had a wife and kid to support, and here I am struggling to get up out of bed and taking pain meds. And I started seeing a cycle here and then I reached out to the guys that I deployed with, and I was like, hey, you guys having the same problem? Yeah. Oh yeah, I went to the VA and they got me straight and they got me on meds. I was like, really? Is that a thing? Like, are we supposed to do that? I didn't get the memo. Nobody told me I needed to go see
Oh my
a doc.
gosh.
So I started a claim, and that was the scary part, was getting over that hump that, like, you deserve these benefits, because I didn't think I deserved them. I thought, oh well, I did my job, right?
Because
Like,
you
this
came
is
back in one piece, right? That's
right. I'm alive,
literally
right?
what the thought is.
Right. It is like you feel guilty for even saying, hey, something's wrong, even though a year back I had to assist in putting one of my fellow Marines in the ground, which really sucked. That was a hard moment to see that happen, and to see the family, in tears, and having to hand the flag over to the wife and stuff. That was rough. That impacted me. So seeing that, I was like, oh, I don't deserve this. That guy deserves it, but I didn't. So that was really hard. A hard transition to a civilian was, I guess, seeing myself worthy of even qualifying for those benefits. But
Well, and I, I was told by somebody a couple of years now, it's been, and he actually, because you were late, you didn't see the intro, but there
Mhm.
is a gentleman in there in the intro who actually said to me, it's a contract, and a contract has two signers, right?
Yes,
So if you're fulfilling your end of the contract, that means they have to fulfill their end of the contract as well. And
correct.
that's something that most people think once they're out, everything is done, the contract's over, but it's not. There
Mhm.
is more, for some that they need those medical benefits because they have to be able to continue and maintain in a civilian world.
Correct. Correct. That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. I thought I was, you know, signing the contract, and I had to carry that my end of the deal through. But you're absolutely right. You know that it is a an agreement between two parties, um, and it's a good thing that you say that, because I think every 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid that's signing the dotted line needs to understand that is you're saying, hey, I'm going to do XYZ for X amount of time, and I agree to, putting my life and everything down on the line for my country. But that doesn't mean that once that contract is over, that you know there isn't something there to help you out. And this is relatively new, from what I understand. It wasn't like this prior to GWAT. I've heard horror stories from Vietnam veterans saying that they were basically thrown into I guess neglect, coming home with injuries and Agent Orange and all this stuff. So um, this is something that we had to learn. And then I think what ended up happening was the GWAT kids figured the system out, and then they almost kind of went back and helped the Vietnam veterans and
Right.
all the
And yeah, and they're more and more, they're actually filing claims, which they should, right? I mean,
yeah.
so many of them forget about all the things that physically happened to them, right? More and more, it's PTSD, right? The things that they saw, the things that they were forced to have to do, and that's the part. And then on top of that, how they were treated when they came back.
hmm
Spit on and kicked and called all sorts of names, and think those kinds of things are what stick with our Vietnam veterans more than anything else. And and it's really difficult to transition into a civilian life knowing what at that time people thought of them, right?
Correct. Yeah, that was from what I've heard from other Vietnam veterans. It was a rough time. The image of a veteran was seen as a killer.
Right.
Someone who was going against humanity and just blindly taking orders. But that's not the case at all. I mean, these guys. The worst stories you hear about a soldier, a Marine, a sailor going in and, grabbing 6 or 7 guys out of the jungle and dragging them back and going back to fight. I mean, those are some tough stories that hopefully we never see again. I pray that never happens again. It was a horrible war. In my opinion, we shouldn't have ever been there in the first place, but that's for another day.
Yeah. I mean, there's that just happens a lot, unfortunately, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it all just really depends on who you have in office, and steering clear of politics. We'll kind of move on from there. But
Anyway.
yeah, squirrel. Okay. So let's go back. Let's start at the beginning. Tell me, who was Misael as a child?
Oh boy, who was I? Okay, so I was born in New York City. My mom and dad are immigrants. They came to the United States in the '80s, early '80s. Had 3 kids. All 3 of us served, which is crazy. I did not
Wow.
see that one coming. I was the first one to sign up, so I take all the
Are you
credit.
the old?
No, I'm actually not. I'm the middle child. So
Okay.
it was me. I signed up. It was 2006. I was fresh out of high school. I went straight in after high school. I mean, I had 2 weeks between graduation date and boot camp day. So went in straight in. I just felt like I was compelled to do it. I had maybe a little bit of connection there with New York City, and I, growing up there, I actually have a picture of me as a child with my family standing in front of the towers. So I just remember seeing that. I think I was in 5th grade. I was in art class, and I remember seeing the towers fall, and I thought it was a movie. I thought we were watching a movie. I was like, oh, this is crazy, And our teacher, pulled us all together, and she kind of held us all together and said, hey, this is. I feel like I need to tell you guys that this is real. And then not shortly after that, the principal came on the speaker system, the intercom system, and said that we were allowed to go home, and that our parents were allowed to pick us up. And then that caused a whole debacle because all the parents were trying to rush to school and pick up all the kids. It was just a really uncertain time.
Yeah,
and
it was.
I carried that through middle school and high school. I was like, okay, I see what's going on. What can I do? Right? What can I do as a person? I'm an American. I might be first generation, but I'm an American. Like I have to wear that with me. So and I wasn't the only one. Like I'm not saying this like I was one of two. There was a lot of guys that I went to high school with that were like, hey, sign me up, let's go. And there was almost this like camaraderie. I remember if you knew that the other guy was going with you, even though we were still in high school, it was like, hey, I'll see you on the other side kind of attitude. So it was pretty cool. But
were you studious at all while you were in school? Did you like school?
I liked school, but it was boring for me. So I wasn't really interested in sitting down and reading books. I was more of like, hey, how do I make this work? I was a tinkerer. So
good. Okay.
I needed to be. I was more technical than anything. So, when I went to take my ASVAB score, I was actually. I remember being in junior high. I was a junior, and I remember taking the ASVAB as a way to get out of class, and I thought it was kind of funny. That I was like, I'm gonna go take this test to get out of class, and then I took it, and I scored really well on the technical side, and I was like, I was taking that kind of as a joke, but I scored really well, and then almost immediately the recruiter started calling saying, hey, you need to get into this, you need to get into that. And I will tell you, one of the reasons I joined the Marine Corps was my coach, my soccer coach, Coach Valkyrie. Shout out to Coach Valkyrie if you're even listening to this. I don't know if you're teaching anymore, but he was I think he was a 351 guys with rockets. You might, I don't know. And he talked about it a couple times, and I was like, wow, that's cool. And then I saw, obviously the recruiters in their dress blues, and I was like, I gotta
some of the sharpest uniforms, right? I'm telling you.
I mean, you can't deny it. We look the best. You can try to say.
I'm a little biased, right? I mean, I just am. It is what it is.
So you said you have 2 kids that are Marines, correct?
I do, and they are both veterans as of last year.
Oh wow! So when you first saw your kids in the dress blues, what was your first thought? Did you tear up a little bit?
Yeah, so my oldest Marine, he, of course, he's worn his dress blues for his wedding, and when they did the family day, even with my middle child, second Marine, they didn't get to do the dress blues. So while they were doing the graduation stuff, so you don't really get to see it, right? And it wasn't until my youngest Marine came home, and I forced him to put it on so I could get a photo, right? Because all you get is that headshot.
Right.
That's it. And it's not even, which you find out after the fact, it's not even a full uniform when you guys take a picture taken.
No, it's like a like a cover that you just throw on, and they take a picture and you take it off next.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
assembly line. I hate to break your hearts, but it's not what you think it is. They're just trying to get your picture, get in and out, and
Right.
get
And
back to.
so, but I just love the look of it. And especially, the dress blues are just
Mhm.
amazing. I'm not a big fan of green. So, the alphas,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know what they were thinking on that one. I guess they were trying to stay tactical, just in case they had to jump right back into the jungle. I don't know. I never understood that one. I always hated them. But yeah, you're right. The blues are quite rare, in my opinion, unless you're what's it called, where you're the White House, you work at the White House and you salute the president and stuff, and
Right.
security forces and all that. Then you get to wear your dress blues all day, every day.
Or recruiter.
Or recruiter, yeah. But if you're in the field, I was attached to an artillery unit. We got to wear them once a year, and that was at the ball.
Yeah.
And that was it. I mean, you literally wore them for one day, and out of 365 days, you wore them for one day, unless you did some kind of funeral duty or special event for recruiting or whatnot. But yeah, it was rare, and you had to keep it up. You can't just zip it up and put it in. You had to make sure everything still fit, because
that's the hard part. So
yeah.
I know my oldest. So when during the Afghan withdrawal, so my oldest, he was part of the 2-1 unit out of San Diego. Well, Pendleton. He was not able to go. So he stayed because he had just found out at the time that his wife at the time had stage 4 cancer. So he stayed home. And then the news hit. So he was supposed to deploy with his unit to Japan, but stayed home. So that unit, the 2-1, went to Japan, but then got detoured to Afghanistan, to Kabul. And he ended up, of course, the bombing at the Kabul Abbey Gate. That was his unit. Those, he trained with those people. He trained them, etc. So he knew them all very well that were killed that day. And
I'm sorry.
So he volunteered to go to in Virginia. Help me out for the funeral.
Quantico.
I
You're talking about
the cemetery.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
boy.
I don't know what just happened. I think I try and block it out because it's just not fun. But
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll think about it tonight.
Yeah.
Arlington.
Thank you.
Jason to the rescue. So he volunteered to go to Arlington and as honor guard and do one of them who was going to be buried there in Arlington. And so, of course, he was in his dress blues for that. And he'd sent some photos for me so I could see those. But yeah, it's never an easy thing. And my youngest, I don't know, he said something pink got spilled on his. I don't know what.
Oh no.
And he's like, I mean, he's like, go take it to a cleaner. It's fine. It's like he doesn't have any intention probably of ever wearing them again.
Yeah.
But I still think they're just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. You don't stay single very long as a Marine. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and I have to say that's not always a good thing. Because if at a guesstimation, you're looking at probably 50% divorce rate at least.
Yep.
And that's one of the things us moms, right? We all know, we all get together on the Facebook stuff and the Marine moms, mother of Marines. And it's, oh my gosh, my son just got married and never even told me.
Oh yeah.
That happens time and time again. And then less than a year later, they're getting a divorce, right? It's like,
Yeah,
because they
here's
think they're going to get the BAH, right? And
right.
because of that, that's a huge thing. And so, for any of you who don't know what BAH is, basically, it's base housing. You're getting to have your own little space for you and your family, but they see that, they think, okay, increase, right? But you still got to pay taxes, and on top of that, now you got to pay everything else, right?
Yeah, it doesn't actually. Looking back, uh, yeah, the Marine Corps barracks suck. Okay, they're like glorified jail cells. Okay,
Mm.
that you have to keep and maintain yourself. There's no one to come around and clean up for you. You have to do it all yourself, and there's
Half the
just a
time
lot of
things don't work. There's mold growing here. There's
yeah.
floor
It's
ceilings. Yeah.
you're constantly being inspected.
Mm-hmm.
There's duty that's constantly patrolling and making sure you're in the barracks and not throwing, you know, uh, what's it called, beer pong parties
Yep.
and
You got to
whatnot.
clean your own
Look,
toilets. You got to, yeah.
Marines get really bored. Okay, we're very destructive. If we're left alone, we will destroy things, and
Yes.
that's the reality of things. And a lot of guys, once they reach that point where they've been in for a year or 2 years, they want to get out. They want to be more independent. Maybe they don't have enough rank to get out as a corporal or sergeant, but they just want to get out of that life. So they'll unfortunately the smell of honey calls their name, and they try to find a spouse or someone to marry. I even hear
Yeah.
it's a trend to
Yeah.
marry your buddy, and I don't know. Like I'm just gonna say that, and it's just to get out of the barracks. So did I do
And
it? No,
which
but
is good. Good
yeah,
job.
yeah, I
Good
survived.
job.
Somehow. I survived.
That's right. That's right. Your
Yeah.
mother taught you well.
Well, for me, it was like, well, this is more money in my pocket, so I can do what I want to do instead of paying it on rent. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
You're
so
shrinking over there.
yeah, I'm settling into my chair. I'm
I
finally
was
getting
like, where are
yeah
you going?
yeah. This thing leans back a little too far. I've tried to fix it, but um, it helps my back out. So
There you go.
I go with it. I go with it.
So let's talk a little bit. So now, okay, so we had 9/11 in 2001.
Mhm.
And then what, 5 years? You
Yeah,
decide you're going to join.
yeah. I was about 16 when I signed up.
You were
And so
16. Okay. So
I
you
was
really,
16. So they put me on the delayed entry program for about a year, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's basically you're committing to join. You signed. Technically, you can pull out before you ship to boot camp, but you're basically saying, "Hey, I'm committing to join the Marine Corps or any other,
now, did
branch
you
for that
actually
matter."
go and do the PT with them?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was one of the things that actually compelled me to join, because I mean the delayed entry program is technically optional. You don't have to commit to anything until you want to go. Like you could at that time, because they were hurting for bodies, for the war and stuff. You could just walk into the recruiting office and say, "Hey, sign me up," and you're off to boot camp in a week.
Right. Right.
So it was a choice. So I made the choice. Part of me was to prove that I could do it. If I can do this, then I could probably survive boot camp. Just getting mentally ready for it, getting used to the pressure of having someone, yelling at you, telling you, "Hey, move faster," or do this a little bit. Just getting you mentally prepared, because I wasn't raised in a family that yelled and screamed, and I
Yeah.
was fortunate. I was fortunate to have come from a good family, so I didn't know what that felt like. So I guess I threw myself into the wolves to see if I could survive. And I mean, I'm not saying the delayed entry program was super difficult, but it did prepare you mentally for what was coming.
And because they also, now, I don't know about back then, but did they also talk about or teach you the different insignias and how to address your superiors and those kinds of things?
Yeah. So
Beforehand, before boot camp, before you got there and ship, during the delayed entry program.
yeah. So a lot of that was more so self study. They did assist in getting you ready for the the insignias, the ranking. I mean, they're going to teach you that stuff anyway. But as Marines say, it would behoove you to learn those things before you go. It just gives you that extra edge, so you don't get completely hazed.
And it's a lot like, so you do the hard work, you learn all of that, you get yourself fit to be able to make it through boot camp relatively easy in comparison to those who just jump right into boot camp. So it's a lot like, just studying for an SAT test, right? Before the actual exam. It's kind of like
right. It's exactly right. And you're also I can't believe you didn't mention this, but you're getting ready for the camaraderie, right? You're doing hard exercises where you're carrying sandbags around the track and you're handing off the sandbags to your fellow guy who's
or 45-pound ammo cans
or whatever,
or
whatever's
a
around.
pull-up bar in pieces as you're running.
Yes. Or another body on your back. Your fireman carrying.
Yep.
So you're getting ready to say, hey, I'm willing to lay down myself for you. I'm going to put you on my back, and then when I get tired, you're going to carry me. So you're getting ready for that mentality of, it's not just about me anymore. It's about my team, or my guys, the guy to your left, the guy to your right. So I would say if my son came to me and it was like, hey, I want to join the Marine Corps, I would say, look, if you can't cut it into the delayed entry program, I would say probably don't even attempt to join, because it's what it's for. It's to get you ready for that next step.
So let me ask you this. So you're 16 years old now. Maybe it's changed, but here they can't have you even join until you are I think till you're 17.
Yes. So you can join. You can essentially commit anytime you want. Really, I mean, you can join. You can, if I'm not mistaken, you can commit as early as you want. I could be wrong on that.
They can't nowadays. They can't even talk to you until till you're like a senior.
Maybe that's the case. I don't remember too much. It's been a long time. I actually couldn't go to boot camp until I was 17. So.
Did you? How old were you when you graduated high school?
I was 17. So
that's probably why.
Right. Yeah. I turned 17 not long before so I turned 17 in 06 of November, and then 07 of May I graduated, and then June I was off. So I was only 17 for what? Few months, 6 months, 7 months.
What did go ahead.
I was going to say, but when you do sign as a 17-year-old, when you officially become 17, that's when you actually sign. So I take that back. I actually signed the dotted line when I turned 17 in November of 2006. That's when I officially, you've rejarred my memory. I remember turning 17, and the next day I was in the recruiter's office signing.
Yeah.
And I had to get my parents' signature, both of them, which my mom did not want to do until my dad
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah.
What did they say when you told them you wanted to join the military?
Well, so I was the first to even be interested out of the three. So obviously my mom was reluctant. She knew what was going on at the time. War, and not only we were fighting on two fronts. It was pretty obvious what was happening at the time. There was no secret about it. So her concern was that I was getting, essentially shipped out to come back in a box. That was her concern as a mother. And I get it. Heck, if my son came to me now during wartime and was like, hey, I'm joining, I'd be like, please strongly consider your options before you make this commitment. I get it. I totally understand. But I think my dad talking her into, hey, he's a man, let him make his own decisions. He's turning into a man, excuse me. We got to give him this opportunity. We can't just hold him back forever. He's eventually got to spread his wings and fly away. I mean, you get it. I'm sure.
I do. It was it's so difficult though when.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing for me was not hearing from them. Now in 06, I don't know if you recall, how long was your boot camp?
3 months, if I recall. 3 months. So it was
13 weeks.
13 weeks.
Okay, so it
So
was
right,
the same. It's the same in 22.
yeah, I don't think much has changed. From what I've talked to younger Marines that have gone through boot camp. It hasn't changed that much, to
Yeah,
my knowledge.
yeah,
Um,
and that's for 13 weeks, and not to be able to speak to your child,
mhm.
right? That is the most difficult thing, and it takes a while for you to quit crying, right? It's like you feel like a limb has
Yeah,
just been chopped off as a parent. So,
I I probably gave my mother many tearful nights, being gone for that long. Because I mean, I was her middle kid, and I can imagine what was going through her head. Is he all right? Is he
yeah.
sleeping well? Is he eating well? Are they beating him up? Are they?
Oh, yeah.
But I survived,
Did you
and
get to, well, let's go back a little bit. So tell
sure.
me a little bit about boot camp specifically for you, and like when you got off that bus. Um, First off, did you go to, were you at San Diego or were you Paris Island?
Paris Island. I was
Okay.
Paris Island. I
So
was East
when,
Coast.
there you go. So when you stepped off that bus and onto those yellow footprints, what were you thinking?
Um, can we cuss on here? Is that allowed?
This is your
Okay.
channel.
All right. All right. Holy shit. So, I don't know if it's planned this way, but you usually get there at around, I don't know, 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Yeah.
It's dark out. You don't know what's coming. Everybody's basically half asleep on the bus. It's a long bus ride. I don't know, it's like 4 or 5 hours from Nashville. You get there. All you hear is the hydraulics on the bus door opening, and you just hear the raspy frog voice from the DI, who's probably been there way too long, probably running on little to no sleep, and it's terrifying. It is It is. I hate to tell you guys this if you're looking to join the Marine Corps, but if it's your first time seeing that kind of environment, like I said, I didn't come from a household that yelled and screamed. So when you first experience it, your initial reaction is, "Holy shit! What did I get myself into?" And I mean, you're not the only one. Everybody there is feeling the same thing. As much as you want to feel like, well, we're gonna make it, right, guys? You're looking around, everybody's got the same look on their face, white as a ghost, scared to make a move, scared to, the first thing you do is you show up, you call your parents, and you tell them, "Hey," I don't even remember what you say. "I'm all right, and I made
I
it
have made
home safe."
I've made
Yeah,
it to whatever
yeah,
location, and I'm
yeah.
okay, and yeah. But
Eh,
like you have to say it within, like, read it as quick as you can, and
yeah.
that's it.
And meanwhile, while you're saying it, by the way, if you don't know this, the DI is right here. He's
Mhm.
looking at you, and he's staring into your soul. So um, you feel like you got to get it out as quickly as possible. And then I mean, it's chaos. It is utter chaos, is all I can say.
Now, for me, so here's the thing. I've heard from other moms, Marine moms, who say all they hear is yelling and screaming. They could
Yeah.
hardly hear what their kid is saying. And for me, I never got the call. And
Oh
it
no.
wasn't until graduation that I found out why I never got the call, because my kid was at a phone that didn't work. And
Uh,
he'd pick it up, no dial tone, but he'd punch in a number anyway, and he'd wait, and then he'd hang up.
yep.
Sir, there's no answer. Instead of saying the phone didn't work, they'd say, try again. So he'd pick it up. No, still no dial tone, punch in the number. No, sir, no answer. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, I'm one of those moms go freaking out. And
Yep.
yeah. So
It's
just know if they didn't make it, you would have been the first to hear, right? I think no news is good news. I think as moms, as parents in general, that was one of the things that I had to keep in my head as a mantra, right?
mhm.
No news is good news. No news is good news.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if it's that severe, they will make a phone call on your behalf.
Right.
If it's that severe, where hey, your son broke his leg or something, they'll
Yeah.
they'll give him the opportunity to call and give you that. So it is, I think, from what I understand, from talking to guys who have been drill instructors, their goal is to try to get you used to chaos. That's their goal. Is, if you can't handle chaos here, you're not going to handle it out in the field, because the Marine Corps is chaos. It's controlled chaos. So if you can't handle stress well, you're not going to cut it here. It's the first few days. If you can't handle somebody yelling at you, this isn't for you. And it happens. Guys drop like flies. I don't know how many guys dropped out of our unit. We started with like 80 and we got down to 73 at the end. So we didn't lose that much. The washout rate wasn't terribly high. But again, I'm not going to say that I came up with a different generation, but everybody there was, there for a reason. We were extremely patriotic back then. The Marine Corps was, firing on all cylinders. So it was a camaraderie. It was for God, for country. I mean, there's a lot going on in our heads that, okay, if I don't do this, what does that say about me as an American? So anywho, sorry.
No, you're good. So tell me, okay, you get to boot camp, you stand on those yellow footprints, you go into receiving, you get your uniforms, get your gear. What was it like after that? So obviously no sleep for like the first day, at least, I think, is usually their motto, right? They keep you awake.
Yeah, they keep you awake for a few days. I mean, I think you doze off sitting down Indian style, waiting for the next whatever thing you got to do. It really is, the first few days is just meds, check-ins, get your haircut, get your uniform, eat a crappy sandwich out of a box with some chips. You're not really, honestly, I don't even remember it. It was a blur. It was just.
Do you remember
fat, go. I do. I remember the guy ripping the shit out of my hair. So, I mean, those blades, you can imagine, they're not sharpening all the blades. They're just trying to get you in and out. So, I remember feeling, I have really coarse hair, so I remember feeling really itchy afterwards and not being able to scratch it because you can't move unless you're told to move. So, you don't want to be the guy that stands out. So I just remember being really itchy and uncomfortable and just hating life and wondering, why did I do this? Why couldn't I be like my buddies who went to college and had spring break afterwards or whatever and had fun, their summer fun and stuff? Why couldn't I be like those guys? But honestly, looking back, I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Right.
I came out of that. I came out of the Marine Corps, man. I mean, I came out miles ahead, mentally, physically. Emotionally, I came out miles ahead. I could handle stress. I could handle difficult situations. I didn't make excuses for, faults that I made. I owned up to things.
You took responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an adult. If I have the capability of being trusted with a rifle and being trusted to, follow orders and I was a communication specialist, so I was 06.
I was going to ask going to ask you what your MOS was.
Yeah, I was an 0621. So my job was to communicate. That was primarily my role in the Marine Corps, was to make sure that our radios worked, make sure that communication stayed 24/7. Because I was attached to an artillery unit, I had to ensure that comms were available 24/7, 365 from our unit to whoever we were supporting. Whether it was the forward observers, whether it was the grunts, we had to keep constant communication. So that was our job primarily. So, if you can tell a 20-year-old sergeant or corporal, hey, I need to make sure that these communication lines stay hot. Can you do that? And you're given that task at a young age. You take it very serious. I mean, lives are at stake here. The guys on the other line, if they can't talk to you, you can't talk to them. They might be getting hit heavy, and you're nowhere to be found. You didn't do your job, somebody dies. So that kind of responsibility is really heavy from a very young age. And how many college kids get to say that? Hey, I was trusted with making sure guys were, safe on the other side.
Right.
It's you can't compare it. Like I hate to say this, but if my son were to say, hey, Dad, I don't want to go to college, I want to go straight into whatever service he wants to choose, I would say absolutely. I would say
Yep.
120% go for it, man.
Yep.
Um,
I was right there. My husband and I, we were 100% right there and supportive. And interestingly enough, so our youngest Marine, he was kind of a drama queen as a kid, right? So hated needles with a passion, every little scrape and cut, and it was the end of the world. Really emotional things like that, and it was like, I just don't know. I mean, that he wants to do this, but I'll support him. I wish him well, but I'm expecting a different outcome, right? So just from
Right.
and this is what he'd wanted to do since he was 12, and by God, he did it. Uh,
Yeah.
he made it all the way through, graduated, and at one point, was even a platoon leader. So
That's awesome. That's something. It's those who join the Marine Corps are saying, "Hey, I don't want to just be average. I want to be above average. I want to prove to myself that I can do something very difficult. I want to stand out from the rest." That's what you're. I mean, aside from the fact that we look great in our uniforms and we're badasses and we do the hardest
right,
stuff and
yeah,
the whole image of a Marine is always tough guy who can handle anything. Aside from all that, you're just checking a box really early on that says I can do whatever I want because I make my own choices from here on forth. And when you check that box at such a young age, I mean, everything seems downhill from there. Getting a
although
job.
mom still says, "What were you thinking buying
Yeah.
a damn motorcycle?"
Yeah. So there's a side effect to all of this, and that is
Yeah,
you feel invincible afterwards. So, and even while you're in, there's guys. Unfortunately, there's guys that go out and get really fast cars and blow
right.
all their money on toys, and it's a thing. I mean, we're thrill seekers at that point. So I would say probably half the guys that I deployed with came back and bought sports cars and their first crotch rocket, and so yeah, it's not an uncommon thing. We like danger. I don't know
So
why.
speaking of adrenaline, right? So
Yeah.
you're in boot camp. What was your your favorite phase of Marine boot camp?
Oh boy, definitely not the first phase. That sucked. A lot of yelling, a lot of scrubbing. A
Yeah.
lot of scrubbing. Yeah. Oh yeah. We used to have a thing where we would race each other on how fast you could get on your hands and knees and scrub the deck. So we actually created a racetrack. We moved all the bunk beds into the middle of the what's it gonna call it? Um, Squad bay. Thank you. Squad bay, and then we had an oval shape that we would literally line up and try to race to see who it was. They would play games with us, okay, and to see they want to break you. They want to see who's not going to make it to the next phase. So they're trying everything they can to weed out the bad apples right from the get go. And so that phase sucked, but oh boy, I think third phase. I think that was my favorite. I think going to the range and shooting my first gun ever. That was awesome. I shot an
Oh
expert,
my.
by the way. So
Congratulations.
yeah, I have a buddy of mine who's also a Marine vet, and he's a grunt, and he was a whatchamacallit, a marksman, which is like the lowest level. And I just give him shit all the time. I'm like, dude, you're a grunt. You can't. Dude, I was calm,
So
dude.
we went to family day, right? So graduation, and we had dinner and with the DIs. Well, they
What?
wouldn't be like sitting at the tables. They kind of come in and wander around. So you had a bunch of families, and you could ask questions. So they came up, and this is what I love. So how we teach our children, right? And of course, every family teaches their kids different things. And one of the things we taught our children, at a very young age was how to shoot.
Mhm.
And so, and when I say young age, when our two youngest were born, their grandparents for their for their birthday, the day that they were born, they each got 22 rifles.
Wow,
They were shooting by the time they were 2.
that's amazing.
I mean, their ears, right? The muffs were bigger than their heads. But simple one shot little 22. But we go to this dinner and the DIs come around to our table, and I had made shirts for the family. So it had our last name on the back of the shirts and stuff. And we were asking him about our kid and how he did. And oh yeah, a great kid, really, didn't hear much from him, for the first whatever days, and didn't even know who he was because he was always so quiet. And I'm thinking, are you sure you're talking about my kid?
Mhm.
So my husband, we
Smart.
had gone out. I know we had got out shooting 1,000-yard range, and it's all electronic, so you can see while you're prone, you can see the target, right? What you're hitting, and so I was shooting, and let's just say I did well. So he proceeds to show the DI, because he got it on camera, right? A video, what everything was, how I shot. So, and he's like, holy cow. So I guess what I found out later, after he goes back to the barracks and hollers, for my son, and he's like, your mom's a badass. That's what he told him. Yeah. So this is okay. So this is what I did at 1,000 yards, 9-shot group. I shot 4.58 MOA at 1,000.
Wow, that's pretty damn good. That's
Love it.
1,000 yards is not easy. That's
Yeah.
that's a ways out there.
That was the first time I ever shot 1,000. Now, with this particular rifle, I actually had gone out 600 or 700, but never had the opportunity to go out to 1,000 yards. So there is there's a range in. Jason, help me out what that range is called, because now I can't remember. But there's a range here in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee, that you can go out to 1,000 yards.
Let me know what that is, because I'm assuming it's outdoor.
It is the 1,000-yard portion of it is it's covered though. So if it rains and stuff, you're covered, and which is nice.
We'll have to arrange some shooting, because I've only found indoor ranges around here. So
I know of 2. So the one is, I think it's in Sparta, Tennessee. That's the 1,000-yard. And then the other one, I can't think of the name of it off the top. OK Corral. That's another outdoor.
Awesome.
And they have all sorts of stuff out there: shotgun, handgun, long range. That's where I got to shoot the 50 cal.
So you got the permanent ringing in your ears now.
Yeah. So at OK Corral, they charge you $10 to shoot it, and you get 1 round, right? So, but you get to keep the brass. So, yeah.
How's your shoulder feel after that?
Oh, it was fine. It was fine.
That means you had a good grip on it.
Yeah, you shoulder it well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pull it in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So OK Corral, that's in Woodbury, Tennessee. So that is dependent upon where you're at, and you don't have to say out here, but it's a nice little range. We've been out there, and I know that one of the people who works there, I believe he's a veteran, I think, but you go in, if you're a Marine, and you tell him you're a Marine, he'll be like, okay, well, here's your receipt. And then he'll reach over and grab a crayon for you. Great guys. They're all really great out there. But Jason, what's that 1,000-yard range? Because I cannot remember it. So we'll wait for him to pop that out there. But yeah, so Did your parents then come to your graduation?
They did. My brother and sister both came. I remember just not wanting to show emotion because that's just, I don't know. You don't want to be that guy that starts bawling their eyes out when you see your mom and dad and your brother and sister. But we're at parade rest the majority of the day. On family day, we're taking pictures. We're all smirking a little bit. We know we did something pretty awesome, and we know our moms are looking at us with a lot of pride and sense of accomplishment. And there's a lot of emotions going through.
Okay, dead zero, and it's Spencer, Tennessee. He spelled that wrong.
Okay.
But, in Spencer.
Okay. I'll have to look that up.
My
Dead
apologies.
zero.
Dead zero.
Okay.
So when you actually shoot that 1,000-yard target, and you actually get a bumper sticker that says 1,000-yard club.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So even at the time, I want to think he was our youngest. 16. He was 16 and became part of that 1,000-yard club.
That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that there are families out there encouraging their kids to handle guns. Most importantly, if you look back at American culture and just in general, how we were brought up. I mean, kids would go out and hunt squirrels and
oh yeah, 100%,
and rats or whatever was out there. They would go out and hunt. That was a pastime for a lot of kids, and I even heard they used to take them to school with them.
Oh well, yeah, they were always in the back of the truck, or vehicle or whatever. So and they literally, there were rifle racks in vehicles.
Wow,
not uncommon. Now I'm that old. But I remember that. I remember being in vehicles with them, and didn't faze me at all. As far as it wasn't concerned because, and now I have to say though, I didn't get into any kind of shooting or even handling firearms until I was in my 20s. So it was one of those. I mean, heck, I don't think. Well, growing up, we couldn't even have water pistols in the house. We could. That's how petrified, our parents were. So it was like, okay. So, and I remember there was a peeping Tom, and I heard it was like we were just getting ready for bed, and heard somebody like in the bushes by our window, and I remember my husband at the time, grabs his pistol, hands it to me, and I'm like holding it like this, and he goes, anything happens, just point and shoot. And I'm thinking, dude, you're good. And he runs out the house, and I'm thinking, he's gonna come in, I'm gonna shoot him. So it's just one of those, and I just set it down, and but I it's something I enjoy. So Jason says in high school we carried our rifles to school. They were in the truck, unlocked, and keys in the ignition of the truck, but that was rural Montana. So
yeah. So I think a lot of it also has to do where you were raised. If you're raising, where bears and moose, plural?
Yeah, moose.
Well, moose are concerned. I heard they can get pretty aggressive, pretty territorial. So you might want to.
You might be wanting to go out hunting after school.
Yeah.
Or even before school. It just depends. So, that's just one of those things that I wanted, because I didn't grow up with them. I didn't want my kids to be scared of them. Right. And then my husband, now, he, like he said, he grew up surrounded by them, and he will tell you his story that the day he was born, his parents took him out hunting. So, it's one of those that, it was really important for us to make sure that they understood it. And so, yes. So my middle son, youngest Marine, also shot expert. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Hoorah.
So, yeah. So I'm a big advocate of learning about them and, shooting once or twice, because there's people like myself. I was one of those people who was so scared of them because they didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think we as the new generation coming up needs to do a better job at at teaching their kids, and a lot of that has to do with discomfort from them. They don't know how to instill confidence in their kid with a rifle if they don't feel comfortable with a rifle. So it's a cycle, but I'm glad to hear that there's parents out there that are, teaching their sons and daughters, hey, this is not a toy. This is a deadly weapon, but it can also provide you food that you can use to survive in case shit hits the fan. That's really important, and it's protection. I mean, I hate to say it, but the world we live in is crazy, and you need to have something, at least one thing in your house that you can protect yourself with.
Right. So, and like Jason said, our oldest Marine was ended his last MOS. He was an instructor at Tico in Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's I didn't grow up in a household with guns. Yeah, baby. Hi. My daughter's here. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's all right. What's that? I'm busy. Can I finish?
Okay, well, can I have some popcorn?
You can have some popcorn. All right.
You made a kid happy.
Yeah. So I didn't grow up in a household where there were guns. As a matter of fact, they were terrified of them. It's not something that I was even comfortable with in boot camp when I first held one. I was like, oh, what if I accidentally, it discharges on its own? That's another myth, by the way. It's that the guns just fire off on their own. Unless there's something, seriously wrong. Yes, baby. Yes, go. Unless there's something really wrong with the rifle itself, it should not go off on its own.
Right.
So, yes. Sorry, they found me. I thought I found the hole in the house that I could hide in.
The dungeon. It looks like you.
Yeah, I'm in my basement.
We are in the dungeon.
I'm in my basement.
100%. Wait, I got you. Hang on. Let's see if I can do this.
Yes. Let's go. I'm in the back
100%.
corner of my basement. So.
Yep.
So yeah, I actually I hate to say it, but I haven't had my son go out. I feel like I need to get a 22 for him because I have a 38.
Little ones. You can get a Henry, you can get a Chipmunk. We have one of each. Each one of the youngest ones, they got one. One got a Henry, one got a Chipmunk. Okay.
I need to go ahead and invest in one for him so he can practice his shots. I think it's time. He's 8. My daughter's 3. I don't know how she'd fare, but who knows?
You'd be surprised. My niece, she was right out there when she was really little.
That's good.
Yeah, it was good. Kind of how, again, Jason's family, they all grew up with him. They hunted the whole 9 yards. And all of the kids that are all around the same age, really, really proficient, including the only girl.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's get the boys and the girls out there, and let them get used to the.
So okay, you go into you graduate. Your family's there for the first time. You get to see them. What was it like for your mom and dad?
Mom was in tears. Dad was, pumping his chest out, proud as can be. I mean, you got to look at it this way. The American culture wasn't instilled in them quite as much because they were both from Mexico and Guatemala. So, I was the first of everybody in my family to serve. So I was almost like the trial run for, is this possible? Can we do this? Can one of ours make it through the Marine Corps? And I did. And I just remember seeing, a tear in my dad's eye, and my mom was bawling her eyes out. And it was an emotional time for everybody. And I think I don't want to take credit for this, but I think my brother and sister seeing me in my uniform inspired them to do the same. So, not long after I deployed to Iraq, I found out that my brother had joined the Army and my sister had joined the Navy. So they all went their distinctive ways. in different uniforms, and that's also something I brag about to this day. Obviously they join different branches, and that's totally fine. Like I'm one of those guys that's like everybody has a job to do. I don't
Yep.
care what branch you served in, Coast Guard, National Guard. You have a role to play. So I mean, if we had a bunch of Marines, if we had just nothing but Marines, nothing would actually get done. We're too chaotic. There's a reason we like crayons. It's simple. And
they taste good.
And they taste great. So you got to keep it simple with us. You can't give us the really complicated stuff because we freak out. So but
So
yeah,
you
I mean,
deployed. When did you deployed overseas to Afghanistan? When or Iraq?
Iraq. So I deployed in. Oh boy, when did I leave? I was boots and ground in Kuwait, which is where you initially land when you get to the Middle East. In I want to say March of 2008. So just to give you the timeline. So I got in boot camp in June of 2007 and got out of boot camp September of 07. Went straight into MCT, which is Marine Combat Training, which is I think a month long, and then straight into radio operator course, which was only a few months long. And then I checked into my unit in December of 2007. I mean, 3 days later, I checked in and I was right back out training for deployment. So our deployment, pre-deployment training was about 4 months long, and then we deployed.
Okay.
So it was 4 months of training, just nonstop, in the field, shooting, getting used to the environment. And then come to find out, when we actually deployed, we didn't actually do any artillery. And the reason being is because during that time frame, they were trying to pull back on casualties that were civilian casualties. So the artillery was used sparingly. If I recall correctly, that's one of the reasons why we didn't do what we were supposed to do, or what we were trying to do. But as the saying goes, every Marine a rifleman. So we deployed anyway, and we relieved an Army unit who were there as infantry patrol units, and we patrolled. We got to Rutba, Iraq, or if you look it up, it's AR space Rutba, RUTBAH. I was 18 years old. I had no idea what was going on. I was just following orders. I was doing my job. Whatever they asked us to do, we did.
Right. What was it like for you when you first stepped on Iraqi soil? Or Kuwait?
Yeah, so Kuwait was not a big deal. Kuwait was more or less pretty. I mean, it's peacetime. It's just a place to land and recollect yourself. It's kind of like, hey, you're here. Make sure you're getting acclimated, getting used to the heat, getting used to the environment, and then you take a couple ospreys and they send you over to where you're going to go. So when I first landed in Rutba, I don't know. I didn't really feel anything. I was kind of like, oh, this is what I signed up to do. I'm here with my boys. They're not just gonna come in here and steamroll us. We know what we're doing. We're Marines. Like that's our job. So I wasn't scared at all. I was actually kind of like, come on, bring it. We're here. Where you at?
Let's do it. Let's do something.
They train you well. I had to say it. They really do beat the confidence in you that you can do anything you want. We had some scary moments while we were there. We were in country when IEDs were a big thing, VB IEDs. We found several while we were there on just patrolling the streets. I mean, we would I have very, very vivid memories of finding IEDs as a patrol, and we do a cordon, which is basically what is it, 15 feet and then 50 feet, if I recall correctly. You basically make a circle around this thing and you say, hey, nobody come in here, and then 50 feet out there's another line of us kind of protecting this this thing we found. When you don't actually know if it's a bomb or not. You have no idea. It's just it could be a bag with wires sticking out of it for all you know.
Right.
It could be a carcass of a dead dog, that you suspect to be something. That I think that was when the oh shit moment happened, was when we found our first one, and we were like, hey, one of us could have stepped on this one and that would have been kaboom. So I'm not telling you, at some point we did get humbled, like, hey, this is really what happens. We had a female suicide bomber that blew herself up just outside our fob, and I still remember the sound of the I guess the shrapnel or whatever she was wearing, those pieces hitting the tin roof of our shack. It was like ding, 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 and we were all still trying to figure out what was going on. Our fire team was on quote unquote break at the time, and by break I mean 4 hours of sleep and back out there. So I remember hearing the sound of an explosion, and the fire team that was out there on security posts responded. They got to see more of the aftermath of what happened. And we were kind of just like QRF, which basically means, hey,
Quick response.
if they need us, you're ready to go. We were suited up, ready to go. So we ended up, after the fact, we ended up finding, I'm not even going to describe that on here, but not so great things. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
So that was my oh shit. It was around May of 2008. This is real. We could really get hurt out here.
Right.
But it still didn't deter us. Like, none of us were like, hey, I want to go home. It was kind of like, well, this is what we signed up for. Let's do our job, and let's try to make it home in one piece.
Yeah. And then, did you get an opportunity to eat any of the local cuisine?
Yeah. Were we supposed to? No, but we did anyway. So there was so funny thing about where we were stationed specifically. I was actually our platoon, second platoon. We were actually sleeping and staying with the Iraqi policemen of that town. So we actually slept we called it the IP station, Iraqi policeman station. So we were in the middle of the city. We had I want to say what it was it was an old English fort that was turned into a police station. So we had some pretty high, like 18-foot walls made of concrete, and then around that we had some what do they call those freaking cubes filled with sand. The name is escaping me, but essentially barriers, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe your husband can look that one up. That guy became a millionaire, by the way, very quickly. The guy that invented those barriers, basically just giant sandbags that were squared in shape with wire around them, and you filled them with sand, and that became your barrier. So it was a deployment that felt like it lasted an eternity, but also it's almost like a distant memory,
Right.
now.
Right.
So I still don't regret it. I still look back at it and think, yeah, that was a moment in my life. Was it a good moment? I don't know. I miss my guys. I miss the guys that I deployed with. I miss the camaraderie. I miss the working out, the taking questionable pre-workout. Not gonna say what that was. So yeah, I miss eating the crappy Iraqi food that we didn't, for some reason, it was
to eat.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to eat. I mean, they would serve us a lot they liked eggs a lot. I don't know why. They made a lot of omelets, and
Interesting.
yeah,
That's the first time I've heard that.
yeah, at least where we were. I don't know if that was just hey,
I
this is
think
what we
most
got.
others, everybody else that I've talked to that may have been there, just did not eat the food.
Yeah, we were stupid. I don't know why we decided to eat the food. Yeah, and a lot of us got sick too. I remember that. it was like questionable meats. I don't know, goat, lamb, something. And then you would see those same goats eating shit on the road. So yeah,
Oh,
very
yay.
smart. We were very smart. Um,
Right?
so
Yeah.
sorry, I'm having a popcorn snack. Um, so yeah, it was a memorable experience. I'll say that. Um, we unfortunately have had some post post deployment casualties.
Yeah.
Um, some of our guys have come home and allowed themselves. So
And
you
that's
know,
a difficult situation. It's happening more and more. Um, and how, I guess, in your opinion, do you have thoughts on how, why, what's happening? Why is there another thing that they can do
yeah. So
or anything, I
um,
guess, that we can do to help?
I will make one point. So the Marines in specific, I can only speak on the Marines' behalf because I'm a Marine and I served as a Marine. So we unfortunately have this persona that we play that we're invincible, nothing hurts us. We're the stone made up. We're made out of stone. We just whatever comes at us, it deflects right off, right?
Right.
And we carry that till we get home and we see our families, and we can't do that anymore, right? We can't have this shield up that oh, nothing phases me. I saw a dead body. I saw a kid that was blown up into multiple pieces, and then you get home and you know reality hits you. Like you see your wife, you see your kids, you see your parents, you see the buddies that you went to high school with, and you get back into reality, and you're like, I don't know how to handle anything.
Right.
um, because you block that out of your brain for however long. So that becomes a serious problem. Anxiety becomes an issue. Sleepless nights, just constantly being on guard, on edge. Um, it's not easy going to bed in a foreign country knowing that a mortar could hit you at any point and you're done. Or you could get a call that your buddy just got you know hit by an IED. So
Right. Right.
um, going from that to, hey, I'm an accountant now at bank is not an easy transition. And I think that's where a lot of guys really struggle mentally. They don't they don't feel worthy of continuing on because they don't have much to fall back on, if
Right.
that makes
Right.
sense.
For sure.
Or anyone to talk to, for that matter. Um, yeah, that's the best description I can come up with as to why. Um, Again, I don't know. I mean, I wish I could talk to those guys one more day and say, hey, what happened? Um, you know.
Yeah. I sent you a text. I didn't mean to send it to you. I meant to
Okay.
send it to my child. So if you see that, just know it wasn't for you.
I just
Um,
deleted it. I don't even know what
it,
it said.
it said, "Let the dogs out, please."
Who?
I know. Let the dogs out. Um, so we've got one that is in his kennel, and the kennel is like a jail cell because
Mm.
he's, escape artist kind of dog. Um,
Ah.
and he can't have a bed in there because every time you give him one, he shreds it and eats half the
Ooh.
stuffing. So,
Yep.
um, so it's metal, and he just sits there and paws and dances, and it's like all you hear is rattle, 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 rattle. So,
Ah.
it's like, oh yeah,
You gotta get them out. Yep.
yeah. So it was like, okay, he needs to go. He needs to go outside. And
Yep.
I think nobody's in the living room at the moment, so I'm sure that's why he's like, hey, y'all forgot about me over here. So, but yeah, it is an interesting thing, right? Now, going into that, are you in contact with anybody that you served with still today?
Yeah, we have a running group, I would say, on Facebook Messenger that we just talk shit to each other. Honestly, it's locker room talk 24/7. But it's good. It's a good thing. We're just checking in on each other every once in a while. Making sure everybody's still good. Um, some of the guys have continued service. Some of the guys they're still, still in it or in the army or in
Wow.
the National Guard. Yeah. So it's just nice to know that you're not alone and you know you're not the only one that's going through something. So we share a lot of stuff on there. A lot of politics, a lot of what's going on in the world, a lot of
Right.
jokes, a lot of, hey, you guys ready to go back to Russia? Even though we all of us have broken backs, and some of us have gained a little bit more weight.
That's funny.
So
But it's nice though that you can rib. Now, do you and your siblings rib each other a lot, being that you're all different branches?
not even no.
No?
Yeah, you'd be shocked. Our family reunions are pretty peaceful. You would think that we'd be talking a lot of smack, but I mean, I respect the hell out of both of them.
Well,
I mean,
you can respect somebody and still give them crap, just
yeah,
so you know.
yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
you should hear. So it's funny. So a lot of the guests we have on, um, because a lot of times I'll have one of my Marines on in the chats, and one of the questions ultimately is if it's somebody other than a Marine veteran that's on. The question is, have you ever had the opportunity to serve with a Marine or beside a Marine? And then the ribbing starts, right? It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know something? Now that I think about it, and now that you mention it, my brother and my sister never really talk about, our time in service. I think we all just know that it equally kind of sucked. So we're just kind of like, all right, you serve, I serve. That part's over. It was a different time. This was wartime, so I guess there's a lot of focus on getting ready for war. So
Yeah.
I
And
don't know.
so when you then decided, now, did you have the opportunity to get out just on your own, or was there a medical issue? Because you said you had knees, back, things like that. So, or
Yeah.
did you just decide, and I'm done after so many tours?
Yeah. So my contract was up in 2013. I was an E5 at the time. Um, I was 22 years old, 23 years old, and I guess I ultimately decided that I didn't want to be a lifer. I didn't want to do 20 years. I wanted to start a family, get married, have a normal life. And so, that being said, I don't think that I could have continued on it anyway because of the back problems, the knee issues. I had some issues with migraines as well. So there was a lot of stuff that I was like, well, my body can only take so much, and I'm 23 years old, and I feel like I have the body of a 40-year-old. So there's only so much I can take as a young adult. And then I met my wife in college, and she was sort of encouraging me, hey, because I don't know if I told you this, but I was actually in the Marine Corps Reserves. So while I did do my tour and my active duty time, I did spend some time in the reserves, which is where I went to college and met my wife. So she was kind of the one saying, hey, let's go over on this side. And I followed through, and I ended up marrying her and have two lovely children that will not. I know. So I don't regret any of my decisions whatsoever.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so obviously my question, this is because you talked about how you really didn't get to do much. What did you get to use your communication skills while you were deployed?
Yes. So because we were deployed as a quote unquote grunt unit, even though we weren't grunts, you still need comm. You always need comm. I mean,
Right.
it's a requirement to go outside the wire and be able to communicate back with your HQ, your fob. So anytime you leave the wire, you got to have some kind of communication. our guard posts, they all have radios. It was constant. There's never not a time where you had to have communications. And when you're in country, all of your radios are encrypted. So those encryptions last, I think, a week. I don't remember the actual. I might be saying something that I shouldn't be saying right now. They last a certain length of time, okay, and they refresh, and you have to go in and reprogram the radios and make sure that they can still talk to each other with that encryption. So sometimes they lose battery, or the battery fails and they go dead, and you have to re-encrypt them. There's a lot of things that go wrong. I mean, these things are, we have the smallest budget out of all the branches, so these things are pieces of junk.
And I think because of that, Marines really are very, what's the word I want? You really got to think on your feet.
Yes.
You know, how to create something out of nothing.
Yeah. We're neglected redheaded stepchildren.
I know. Hey, shout out real quick to Jova Q. Welcome. Appreciate you being here. Resourceful. Hey. Yes, resourceful. That's the word, Jason. So very resourceful.
Yeah. You gotta make do with what you got. Right. And that's no secret. I think that's been the thing for forever. Is Marines get treated like dogs. We get thrown a bone every once in a while that we get to chew on. And
the devil dog in you, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Now your MOS was obviously able to translate into with communications, right? So communications nowadays is massive.
Yes. So it did land me the job that I went after I got out of the Marine Corps. So yeah, I would say that it did help me in the civilian aspect. But more so, I would say more so the discipline, the mentality, the hard work ethic. That's what really carried over. I mean, I didn't really have any doubt in my mind that whatever I wanted to do outside the Marine Corps, I could do. So it didn't matter whether it was with communications, or I wanted to be a police officer, or I wanted to, be a contractor, whatever. It didn't matter to me. I didn't think anything was impossible, and I still think that way to this day. So, yeah, did skills carry over? Sure, but the mentality carries over more, and that's something that nobody can take away from me. So yeah, that's that, and I'm not even in communications now. I'm a contractor now, so that same personality that I carry, the confidence, the ability to talk to people, the ability to negotiate, the ability to walk in, the discipline, I'm not scared of anyone or anything. So I can walk into a room and shake a guy's hand and say, "Hey, how's it going? Good to meet you. My name is this," and I know that they feel that I know what I'm talking about, if that makes sense.
Because you've got that confidence behind you, right?
Correct.
Kind of the been there, done that in the world mentality, right?
Correct.
So that makes perfect sense. Now I'm going to ask, you've talked about the VA. You're aware of, what your benefits are now. You've submitted a claim or two. You've gone through the process. Outside of the VA, are you aware of any resources for veterans?
Yeah, I would say the biggest resource I would say is probably the ability to buy a home through the VA loan. And while I know that there are programs for non-veterans out there for first-time home buyers and things like that, the VA, being able to buy a home with zero down and a lower interest rate than average without too much having to do with your credit score, being able to buy a second home, which a lot of people don't know about, or they have been misinformed that they can't buy a second home through the VA. That's a huge benefit. You can use your first-time home buyer one time. You can use your VA home loan purchasing power as many times as you want within their parameters, of course. They do have certain restrictions. I think you have to have lived in your home for at least a year before you can buy a second home.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so those things that they could change your financial well-being for um, just knowing stuff like that. Being able to have your property taxes refunded back to you. That's a huge one, and I think that's only for 100% disabled veterans, by the way.
Right.
There's a lot of things out there. There's free state park access. Oh boy, you caught me. The VA hospital, being able to go see a doctor outside of the VA network is huge. That's a recent change. I think just a few years ago, you had to first go to the VA for them to refer you outside of the VA, and now it's like, oh hey, I want to use this doctor. Is that cool? And they're like, all right, cool. Just tell them to send us their info, and that's it. So there's a lot of good changes that have happened over the years. The PAC Act was a huge thing. That got a lot of veterans into benefits. So,
Have you heard of Operation Stand Down?
that sounds familiar, but I'm not entirely sure.
So Operation Stand Down is in Middle Tennessee, and they are I believe they're also a 501c3. They're not for profit, and they are absolutely amazing. So for those veterans who may be struggling financially, maybe they don't have enough gas or money to get them to their job. Operation Stand Down, you get a hold of them, they can help you out. If you need help finding a job, they can help with that. If you need training or interview resources, things of that nature, they can help as well. So they're really a great one as far as resources within Middle Tennessee. And that is Operation, so it's osdtn.org, Operation Stand Down Tennessee. And so if you have anybody who's ever looking for some resources outside the VA, feel free. You guys can hand that out to them here in Tennessee. So.
Okay, it's good to know. I hadn't heard it. I've heard the name before, but I hadn't looked into it. So that's good to know. That's awesome.
They do a great job. The other thing, so now this is not in Tennessee, but the group, I don't know, you probably heard some of it. I was talking about Mind Overland at the start, and they generally do 6 trips a year, where they take up to 15 veterans and on upwards of a 400 or 500 mile trek, right? So you bring your own vehicle. Obviously, it's got to be for overlanding, with getting good tires, etc., and a tent, or have your vehicle modified that has the camper part, like either on top or pops out of your vehicle or something. But they pay, I think it's like a $50 deposit that you've got to pay up front, but then they pay for all your food and gas and everything over the course of the time. And usually it's around the East Coast side. But they're absolutely wonderful. So I learned today they're looking to have their Veterans Day. Sorry, I was hearing something. Not sure what I was hearing. Their veterans. I know, it's like. So their Veterans Day gathering, and it's for veterans, their families, veteran forward, etc. So, and I went the first year that they did it there in North Carolina, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing.
That sounds really fun.
They had upwards of like 150 veterans. Well, the year that my husband and I went, it was great. They had a bonfire. Right, everybody around there telling stories and just kind of getting to know everybody.
Shooting the shit.
Yeah. So, if ever you get the urge and, you've got a good vehicle that's got some height to it so you can get,
I
over.
do.
Why
So send me
does
the
that not
deets.
surprise me? Yes.
Shocker, right?
Yes.
I
So,
told you we like a thrill. I don't know what it is. We just
so
like danger.
for 2024 they didn't do it because of Hurricane Helene, and
Ah,
so it's in the Blue Ridge Mountains and is where it is. They have land that is donated for them for this weekend that they do, and it just destroyed everything out there.
mm,
So now, but I did see that they are intending come November of 2025 they're going to be having it in the same spot again.
that's
So
awesome.
yes. So I'm planning to go again. And so, share, it's open to everybody. They, have veterans kind of on one side and their families, and then the other side, they have, the vendors and podcasters and etc. sponsors on the other. They
I
bring
love
in
that's
food
awesome.
trucks and such. So yeah.
That's good. It's good to know. I'm gonna um, send that out to the group that I'm with, and
Yeah,
let
so
them know. 'Cause-
mindoverland.org,
okay.
and you can actually go on. I don't know if they've got it ready to purchase your tickets. It doesn't cost anything as far as tickets. It's just so that they can keep a head count to get an idea of how many people, so that they know to let the vendors and food trucks know, how many people that they could expect to
Okay.
be there.
Okay.
And yeah, so usually it's like that Sat. So you come in on a Friday, Saturday. They also did a bunch of giveaways. Oh my gosh, I can't. They probably gave away 50, 75 different things in
Wow.
drawings there. And then they had, I don't know, 5 or 6 different food trucks and what have you. So
That's
it,
amazing.
it's quite interesting. And yeah, I'll send you out that directly. But for anybody else who's interested, um, Mind Overland, and you can find them on Facebook, Mind Overland, and then mindoverland.org is where you would go and look for the tickets. And you'll get a ticket from Everbridge or something like that, but it's just, like I said, it's more of, it doesn't cost anything. You just register, basically.
Gotcha. That sounds awesome. Sounds like a good time. That's a good way to. I'm assuming their goal is to get veterans out talking to each other and
Yep. Get
sort
them
of
out and out of their heads.
yeah. That's a dangerous place to be sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So any questions out there in the chats, go ahead and put them out there for Misael. And then do you, Misael, have any last words for anybody who is, I know we talked at the beginning about those who might be interested in joining, but outside of that, any words of wisdom for them?
yeah, I'd say if you're a Marine or any uh, branch of the military, keep those people in contact that you served with. Uh, don't be a recluse. Don't go back into your hiding hole and keep everything internal. Talk to those guys. There is a healing effect to talking to guys who have also suffered with you, also been through the same struggles that you went through. There's something about it that makes you feel normal again, to know that, hey, I'm also going through this.
Right.
I struggled with the same thing. This is what I did. Um, stay away from the bottle as much as you can. And that's something that I've personally had been struggling with. It just does no good. It just makes things worse. It temporarily heals you, and then it doubles down on it. That's all I can say. Get to know God, get to know Christ. That's been, I don't know if we can get religious here, but get to know a higher being. There is power in it, and it's helped me tremendously through some hard times. Um, what else? Don't stay quiet. Talk to guys. Talk to the people that you deployed with, or even just other veterans that you just come across.
Yep.
Have a conversation. Have some coffee. Don't keep it inside, because I mean the numbers speak for themselves. We are not doing well. Um, our us GWAT kids are not doing so well with what we experienced. A lot of things that we don't want to talk about that we need to talk about. Don't be afraid to talk to the VA. The VA is not your friend. I hate to tell you guys this, but they're not looking out for you until you look out for you. You would be shocked that
Right.
I had this problem. I thought that the Marine Corps and the VA were talking to each other, and they have my records. You guys arrange it. I'm just here
No.
to file a claim. It's the burden is on you to prove that something did happen to you. If you are going for benefits, the burden is all on you. It's all on you to prove it. Look into secondaries. They're extremely powerful. For example, if you're having weight gain issues and you can't lose the weight and you suffer from sleep apnea, maybe you're rated for sleep apnea. You can file a claim as a secondary for weight gain. To my knowledge, I don't know if that's changed. So things like that, like if you're having issues with your knees because you gain weight because you have sleep apnea or you have sleep problems, those are secondaries to your primary being your sleep apnea and not being able to sleep well. Look into those things, educate yourselves. There's so much content out there for veterans now for filing claims. If you go to reddit.com/r/veterans benefits, I think it is, there are tutorials on how to file for stuff. You can look up state Tennessee. For me, it's Tennessee veteran benefits, and I'm sure there's somebody that's posted a freaking nice organized list of things you can look for in your state. There's
Well, and you
resources
can
out there.
also go to your VSO, your
Yes,
Veteran Service Office.
yes, you
Services
can. I'm
Office.
sorry, I didn't.
No, and that's
I didn't
okay. That's just another, some people like to read, right? Read it. Other people want to just talk to somebody who knows something.
Yeah.
So just a different resource. So are you are you part of any VFWs?
I am. I'm part of the Murfreesboro one. The post escapes me. I haven't been in a while. I've been a bad.
Like see,
I've been
is
a
it
bad veteran.
I know I'm going to say the wrong one. It's like 1157 or 12 something.
I
don't
just
know.
know they're next to a bar, which is extremely.
Yes, I've been in it. Have you been in it?
Yes, I have. Well, I was in it before they remodeled it. I don't know if they finished remodeling it or
They
not.
did. They finished
Okay,
remodeling
okay.
it. And from my understanding, now don't quote me on this because I haven't heard from anybody directly, is that two of them merged together. So I am a lifetime auxiliary member for VFW.
Okay.
So, which, anybody, so for example, your wife, being that, you are a veteran of foreign war, and she can apply to be a
Auxiliary.
member.
Okay.
Your children, and as they get older, can be, all they have to have is like for our son, our oldest, because he was in OEF, and so we just use hit when he got out. He had his DD-214, so we just used that and submitted
Okay.
that. So
Yeah, that's interesting. So the last time I went was I think over a year ago when Andrew was still the commander over there. I don't know if
yeah, and
he's.
he is not. He is now. I know who you're talking. Andrew Farr.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
good guy, and he moved up into the district, I think.
Yeah, I do remember him saying he was getting promoted. So
Yeah,
shout out to Andrew. Guess the Marine Corps never left you. You still want to outdo us.
I'm
That's
telling you,
that's
and he is just go 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 go.
yeah.
Um, so every time I see posts from him on Facebook, it's he is somewhere else. Like he is just constantly go go go. He and his wife are just really good people and really pillars of the community. I think so.
He does more than I don't know how he squeezes the amount of things he does out of 24 hours. But it's been a while. I need to get in touch with my local here in Dixon. Um, I live about an hour away from there now. So
Same. I the same. So we were in Murfreesboro and moved about an hour out. So
gotcha.
I have not been to any, but I mean, I went when they did their grand opening. I went and checked it out and stuff, and took our middle son, youngest, newly Marine veteran in because he can't be, he would have to be auxiliary because he's uh, foreign war. So,
Okay, gotcha.
um,
Yeah, that's
but yeah, it was good, and he got to meet a lot of veterans and really see what it was like to network with other veterans. So
yeah,
that's a huge thing.
it is, and I think that's another thing that isn't talked about enough. Because you use your veteran network, man. Like just name dropping. Hey, I was in 2-4, or I was a ranger, or I was whatever. Like use that, man. Don't be shy. Like that's your way. It's like college, but better. Um, it's use the hell out of it. I use it every day.
Yeah.
And people respect it. It's a badge of honor, and you need to wear it proudly. Um, use that network. It'll take you places more than I think a degree would. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Um,
So Jason says that when he gets back from Texas, we all need to meet up and go out to Dead Zero so you can get that 1,000-yard sticker.
I don't want to
Do it.
embarrass you.
Oh,
So.
please. I don't want to embarrass you.
All right. I'll bring out my trusty dusty.
There you go.
Yep. So
Watch
I got a
out.
lever. I got a lever action too. It's pretty fun.
Oh, that could be fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
see, mine's big boy. Mine weighs 13 pounds.
Yeah. I got mine. Can I show mine here or no?
Yep.
Is that okay? All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Wait, you cannot embrace. Oh, I think he means to say embarrass, not embrace.
Embrace.
Took me a second. I was like, wait, what?
I got my cross rifles for a reason.
There you go. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and to meet other veterans, other people who enjoy shooting, not just veterans. It's always fun to get together and have some fun.
I'm down for a little competition too. You want to set out a penny out there and see who can hit it? Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right.
I'm all for it.
All right.
It's funny because we went out to the OK Corral with our oldest. And, of course, he was at TICO as an instructor in basically for security forces.
Mhm.
Right. So he would show us all of these, with handgun, right? These different drills. And so then, he and I are like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I'm down. Sign me up.
All right. We're on it. Well, I don't see any other questions out there, but I do want to say thank you very, very much for your time tonight and for your sacrifice and your service to our country.
Thanks.
And your continuing service in helping other veterans, helping them, point them in the direction that they need to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure. I when I saw who you were and what you were doing, I was like, I can't say no to this. I don't care if I've got to block my whole day out, but that didn't turn out to be the case because
life, yeah, that's right. Life happens, and I'm just really glad that you were able to make it.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
if you want to hold tight, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Jason says, thank you for your story. And Semper Fi.
Semper Fi, Semper Gumby.
There
Always
you go.
flexible, baby.
That's right. And if you want to hang tight for me, I'm going to go ahead and start getting this wrapped up.
Awesome.
So let me just check while I've got, let's see. So we've got coming up, I think,
When are you going to do that?
another guest. Okay, so I don't think this, I think the second I have to reschedule. So, okay, so, but y'all join me next Sunday. I will have a guest ready and willing. Excuse me. So I appreciate everybody for checking out the channel. And again, if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the like button, comment after the show, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you can always get the most up-to-date and current notifications of our guests. So again, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Misael, thank you very much.
Thank you. See ya.